The breaking news is suspected sniper found dead, and now a massive investigation is really just getting underway after what the sheriff says started as an emergency response to a brush fire turned into an ambush on first responders in Idaho. 2 firefighters were killed. The sheriff says a third firefighter was also shot and is still fighting for his life. Calls into emergency dispatch in the midst of it paint a terrifying scene of the moments they realized that they were under attack.
Some law enforcement right now, there's an active shooter zone. They're shot. BC3 is down, BC1's down. Everybody's shot up here. Law enforcement, code 3 now up here.
The ambush sparked a huge response from law enforcement. More than 300 officers from various agencies and neighboring counties were all called up to help. At one point, officers exchanged gunfire with the suspect, but it was more than 6 hours after that first fire call that his body was found. This morning, fire crews are still working to contain the fire that he allegedly started, still burning on Idaho's Canfield Mountain. CNN's Julia Vargas Jones is live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho with the very latest. What are you learning?
Good morning, Kate. Well, the plan today from authorities is to go back to that location where the body of the shooter was found for further investigations. What are they looking for? They're looking for more weapons and more ammunition that gunman may or may not have had with him. Now, they had to remove the body from that location relatively quickly, they said last night in a press conference, because of the threat of that fire. So we have not learned any further details about who this gunman was or what were the weapons that he had with him. But we did hear from the sheriff of Kootenai County here in Coeur d'Alene talking about the very nature of this attack and what that was like for the firefighters that were responding on the scene.
This was a total ambush. These firefighters did not have a chance. When you have an environment where you don't know where the bullets are coming from because of the trees and the shrubbery and what have you, it is daunting for police officers, let alone firefighters who are there just to put out the fire.
Unimaginable, Kate, what these firefighters went through. And now this community is also left with so many questions as the investigation continues in the coming days. Now, I do want to share with you one interesting detail is that authorities did use his cell phone, the shooter's cell phone, to ping his location. And as you mentioned, they had exchanged fire with him, but that for another 90 minutes is how they tried to triangulate him until he eventually was neutralized. We don't know how he died at this time, but that fire in that location continues to burn. It is now called the Nettleton Gulch Fire, and authorities will be going up today as daylight breaks here.
Much more to learn. Julia, thank you so much for being there for us. Sarah.
All right. Thank you, Kate. Joining us now is CNN senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe. There are a lot of questions. I'm curious from your perspective of law enforcement, what questions do you have as you hear this laid out where there was an ambush, according to authorities, there were shots going off constantly from the suspect as firefighters were trying to put out a fire that he allegedly caused?
Sure, Sarah. There's, as you referenced, a million questions here, and most of them right now for me are focused on the shooter himself. That person has not been identified, but one of the first things investigators who now are taking kind of the lead with this investigation, since the tactical response has been resolved, investigators are going to try to determine not just who this person was, but what got him to this point. They're probably preparing to execute search warrants at his residence, maybe to locate vehicles that are registered to him and search those as well. They want to identify family members, friends, work associates, whoever they can, to share insights about this person and to shed light on the motive of how he got into this or provoked this deadly shootout with firefighters. And of course, hovering in the back of their mind is the question, was there anyone else who helped with this? Could there have been another shooter present at that location and participating in the attack? Or could somebody have simply helped him prepare for it, arm himself, that sort of thing, because you want to know, is there someone else out here who might be like-minded and who might try to stage a similar attack in the future?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the big fear, or if there are people that see this and decide to be copycats. I am curious if you have ever, in your history in law enforcement, seen something like this. One of the investigators had said, the sheriff actually had said, look, we have seen at times in urban settings, firefighters coming under fire during, huge protests or huge riots, but had never seen something like this. Do you recall anything like this ever happening before?
No, not at all. I mean, I think those observations are accurate. I think in large metropolitan areas, sometimes when there's a large fire response in an area that's experienced some sort of disruption, protest activity, things like that, every once in a while you'll have someone takes an opportunistic shot at responding officers that might include firefighters. It's really exceedingly rare, and it doesn't come off as a planned attack. It's just somebody who is angry and doing something stupid, essentially. This is the exact opposite attack of that. This person, if the facts are as they've been laid out by the sheriff, this person deliberately set a brush fire for the purpose of attracting firefighters, not police officers, but firefighters to that scene, and then laid in wait for them using some sort of a high-powered rifle, hunting rifle, sporting rifle, something like that, to try to kill as many of those firefighters as he could. I mean, that is, in my experience, there, that's unprecedented certainly in recent law enforcement history.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And there are 2 firefighters who have been killed, 1 injured in all of this as police continue to figure out exactly what the motive was behind this, why this person ended up doing this horrible, horrible crime. Andrew McCabe, thank you so much for your expertise. Really appreciate it.
Joining me now to discuss former FBI Special Agent Ken Gray. Ken, thanks for being with us this morning. And I want to start with the sheriff saying that they believe he was a lone gunman. Investigators are now going to be looking into his background. What do you think they'll be looking for?
Good morning, Audi. Glad to be with you. The tactical aspect of this case is over. Now they are moving over into the investigation phase and evidence collection phase. And when they are looking to see who he is, what he's about, to try to build a complete picture of who the shooter was.
We mentioned earlier that they had to remove the suspect's body. I want you to take a listen to a little bit more from the sheriff on that.
We scooped up that body, and as far as the preservation of the scene, it's not perfect in this particular situation, but it's something that had to be done. So you have to evaluate each particular circumstance, and at this time, we felt like since the fire was approaching, we needed to scoop up that body.
Should there be any concerns about that? You could hear the sheriff sounding kind of explaining, look, this is why we had to do it.
Well, extraordinary situations require extraordinary means. And if the body had been left in place and the fire had totally moved into that area, any evidence that was there would have been burned up. So moving the body was a good move in this case. Additionally, since the shooter is dead, there's not going to be a prosecution of the shooter. And so preservation of evidence is very important, but it is not the most important thing in this case. I think probably the right move at this point, but nonetheless, were this to go to trial, that would be an issue.
All right, Ken Gray, thank you so much for speaking with us.